Hey there, let's make a logo. I want to make one specifically for my school's upcoming film festival. So I found an image of a falcon, which is our school's mascot, and I found a film reel. Not that we use these anymore, but people associate that with movies. So we're going to use that. And I have imported both of these into Inkscape. I got the images, by the way, off of openclipart.org. Now, things are kind of laggy right now. As you can see, it's because these images are full of a variety of small shapes that have been stuck together. This can be a problem. Also, there's a lot of color variation in here, and a good logo is not going to be this busy. So we got some stuff to fix. We're going to fix this with the Falcon first. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to ungroup it as much as I can. Now, the ungroup command for me is over here on the side. If I mouse over the button, it says ungroup selected groups, and it says Shift Control G is the shortcut. So I could do that also. Shift, Control, and G. I'm just going to press that a whole bunch of times. And now I've ungrouped this, and you can see all these various dotted rectangles are showing the various things that are on here. No wonder my computer's getting laggy from this. And we are going to combine all these into one shape. And it's not going to look good when I do this, but we'll fix it. So I'm going to go over to where it says Path, and I'm going to go down to Union. I could also press Control plus, but when I click on Union, it combines all of these into a single shape, a single white shape. So we can't actually see it. That's okay, we're going to get that back. Now, to do that, I usually, to get the various controls that I would normally use, I usually go over here where it says Fill and Stroke, and I double click, and it makes this pop up. I could also press Shift Control F, but double clicking over here works too. And I have three tabs to mess with: Fill, Stroke Paint, and Stroke Style. Fill, I don't do too much in here because I like using the buttons down here for that. I'm just going to pick a blue. There we go. For stroke paint, I am going to make sure that there's a border going around this. I'm going to click here to turn that on for sure. And I want that border to be white. I've got these three sliders here, four technically, but this fourth one is for the alpha channel. Basically, that's makes it opaque or not. It makes it translucent if it's like partway through. I want that to be as opaque as possible. And I'm going to drag all three of these over because I want that to be a white border going around it. And stroke style, where I'm probably going to mess with this here, is changing the thickness of that line going around the outer edge, the stroke, the brush stroke, if you will. But I'm going to worry about that in a little bit. I'm going to fix some things over here first. Now, this film reel, I'm going to make some changes as well, very similar to what I've already done. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to ungroup it a bit, and I am going to get rid of where this says Reel 1. That makes this a bit more simplistic of an image. I'm going to zoom out by holding down the Shift key and using the scroll wheel. I'm going to select all this again. I'm going to group it. I could also press Control Z, G rather, not Z. Z is undo. And I'm going to modify this film reel the same way I modified the Falcon. But I want my film reel to be white with a blue border, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to click on white down here, and some parts of this already had a border. So you see some black lines here, some brown lines here. I don't want extra colors. I just want this to be blue and white and maybe some transparent stuff. So I am going to go to where it says Stroke Paint. This is still selected. I'm going to turn that on for everything. And it's remembering the last time I messed with the stroke, I wanted it to be white, so it defaulted to that. I actually want this to be blue. So we got red, green, and blue channels here. I'm just going to take the red channel, turn that to 0. I'm going to take the green channel, turn that to 0. And the blue channel I'm going to leave alone, and now I've got these blue lines here. Now if I drag this over on top, oh, but it's not on top, it's underneath. I need to change its order. Well, to do that, I've got these buttons up here. And like I said, the buttons that I'm clicking on up here and the buttons I'm clicking on over here, they might be in different locations for your personal version of Inkscape. That's just where they are for me. Well, I've got these buttons here to change the order. I can lower things, I can raise things. I want that falcon to be on the very top, so I click there, and now it's on top. And because it has a stroke going around it, if you look closely, when this is going over top of these blue lines, you can see the line stops before it hits the blue shape of the falcon. There's a bit of a border there. And select everything and change the thickness of all those lines at the same time. Let's go to stroke style. Right now it's set for 1 pixel. What if I change that to 5? What does that look like? That might be a little much, maybe 4. I think that looks a little bit better, and your mileage may vary. A lot of this is really your sense of aesthetics, so you might choose a different color if you have that option. I'm sticking with my school colors, which are blue and white. You might think a larger size is better, a smaller size is better, different imagery. It's really going to be up to you for a lot of things. And I can move this falcon around a little bit. I think, let's have it be more like this, so that the curve of the wing is almost in line with the film reel itself. And if I, this is a cool trick, if I click on something I've already selected, these arrows change. And now I can click on this corner and rotate this a little bit and see if I like that better, which I do. I do like that better. Okay, now if I was just making a simple logo, this would probably be enough. I'd be ready to export it, but this is specifically for our film festival, so I'm going to add some text. I'm going to use the text tool over here. I'm just going to click and type name of the school. I'm going to select all this and change it from the default fonts. Never use the default font. It usually looks pretty bad. I can, while this is selected, go up here and I can pick any of the fonts installed on my computer that I want. There's a lot of them, but I have a default font that I usually enjoy using, so I'm just going to type that in. My favorite font for really thick titles is called Opine Heavy, so I'm going to go with that. And I'm also going to try to have this fit the theme for this, so I am going to have this have a stroke going around the outer edge. I'm going to leave that blue. I'm going to change the fill to white, and I think that's going to look good. I'm going to change the size of this in a little bit, but right now we're just messing around with how things are going to be arranged. Now if I press Control D, whatever I have selected gets duplicated. I'm going to hold down the down arrow. That is not the down arrow. Oh well. I am going to put this here, and I'm going to change this text to Film Fest. And I'm going to click on this and just change the width of this a little bit so it's sort of a little bit more in line with the stuff on top of it. If it's not perfect, it's not the end of the day. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to duplicate it again. That was a down arrow, and I'm going to put the film festival's date, which is going to be 1/24/17, comma 6:30 p.m. And I am holding down the shift key to type everything out because titles are supposed to be capitalized in a certain way, but when you're making logos and signs and such, it's very easy to forgive somebody who types in all caps. So I just do that. Now I can shrink this down, but there's so much text here that it's starting to get a little less legible when I do that because everything is stretched all weird. So for this, I'm actually going to hold the corner of this and I'm going to make it shorter. At the same time I make it narrower, and that's going to help keep the proportion of this a little bit better. And now that I have that done, I can select all of these and move this into place. I want this to be kind of the same height as everything else. And I'm going to play with this a little bit. Maybe move this over. No, I don't want that moved over. Control Z is your friend. I might choose to take this and move it behind everything to see if I like that better, but now I can't read it, so nope. Take the time to mess with things. Take the time to figure out if you like it one way or the other. And over here seems to be good enough. Okay, so now I'm ready to save and export all of this. And there's a few ways to do this. If I go up to File and I press Save, that's going to create a modifiable file called a SVG, Scalable Vector Graphic. You can open those in Inkscape, you can open those in web browsers, but they're not the best for printing. So instead, I'm going to export a bitmap, and that's going to get me a dialog that looks similar to this. Even if you're using a newer version of Inkscape, it'll still be very similar dialog. It might just be stuck over to the side here, along with your fill and stroke options. And you have all these buttons up here that you have to worry about. Now, if I select Page, it's going to export everything that's within this bounding box that I totally ignored for this lesson. For this, that wouldn't work. If I had modified this to be like 8.5 by 11 because I wanted to print this out on paper with very specific dimensions, then I'd be messing with Page. Selection also could be a problem, and it picks selection by default a lot of times. If I bring up export after I've selected this falcon, for example, if I export this, it's going to export just everything in this little bounding box here, which means all this stuff over here and all this stuff over here end up being null and void. It's like I didn't do anything with them. So that's not a good idea. Drawing is going to select everything that I've included, which in most cases is pretty useful. However, if I happen to have some random shape over here that I moved out of the way at some point, and then I totally forgot about it, and I zoomed in on this, if I export drawing, at this point, it's going to have a really large image. That includes a lot of empty space and this random shape that's over here in the corner. We're going to get rid of that. Let's use this button to zoom into my drawing. And I am exporting the drawing. I've got my width and height that I can mess with here. I'm going to have my width be 1280. The height adjusted automatically to keep it to scale. And I'm going to say where I want to export this to. So I hit Browse. I'm going to export to my Downloads folder because why not? I can give this a better name than this. But I'm not going to right now. And I have not exported this yet. This is just setting it up for export. It doesn't export until you press the Export button down here. And then you get a little pop-up. Sometimes it's very brief. But now I have an exported file. And if I go to my Downloads folder, I should have a bitmap that I can open up, and all of the black area here was actually transparent, so it's showing black. That's how this particular program works. I've got my white, I've got my blue, it all works. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.